The air smelled like eucalyptus and ego. Inside the marble-lined locker room of Elevate, Los Angeles' most exclusive gym, influencers stretched beside mirrors, adjusting their angles more than their posture. Lululemon, Rolex, and Perfect Skin shimmered under gold lighting. But in the corner, near the steam room door, crouched low, was a boy no one saw. Elijah, 17, thin as wire, hair hidden under a faded baseball cap, scrubbed the floor with a stiff brush in callous hands. His polo was too big, his shoes were old, but his work? Flawless, silent, precise. Every tile glistened. No one thanked him, not once, until the door slammed open. Yo! Cass Monroe had arrived. Fitness model, 6.2 million followers, and absolutely no indoor voice. He swaggered in shirtless, grinning like a wolf in a selfie mirror. His entourage, 2 guys, 1 girl, all tanned, surgically symmetrical, followed, laughing as if someone had told a joke 2 rooms ago. Cass was always laughing, but never kindly. He nearly stepped on Elijah's hand. "Oh, damn. Didn't see you there, little dude," he said, smirking. "Thought you were part of the mop." Laughter echoed off the tiles. Elijah didn't answer. He just kept scrubbing, eyes low, shoulders tight. That bothered Cass more than it should have. "Hey," he said louder now. "You miss a spot. Right there. Look." He pointed with his perfectly white sneaker, tapping an imaginary stain. "Dude, are you even trained?" One of the girls giggled. "Phone already up? OMG, he's filming this." "Let's go viral," Cass said, pouting into the lens. Day in the life, cleaning up peasants. The phone caught Elijah's face. Blank. Pale. Humiliated. "Smile, bro," Cass said. "Your 15 seconds of fame just started." And then, quietly, almost like a breeze, a man stepped out from the steam room. Hair damp. Hoodie slung over one shoulder. Calm. Slow-moving. He had no entourage. No camera. Just Keanu Reeves. He walked past a group without a word. No glares. No defense. No interruption. But he paused, just for a second, near Elijah, and without looking at anyone else. He bent down and picked up the second scrub brush from the cart. Then, silently, he began scrubbing. Cass blinked. "Wait, is that?" Keanu didn't answer. He just scrubbed the tile beside the boy, slowly, quietly, without a word. Elijah froze. His eyes flicked up, terrified. But Keanu only nodded once, as if to say, "You're not invisible." Cass laughed again, but it was thinner now. The camera kept rolling, and something had changed. Something very, very small, but irreversible. Cass paced the locker room like a lion circling its reflection. "That was weird, right?" he said to his phone, filming again, like, "What just happened?" No one answered. His entourage, 3 perfectly filtered sidekicks, offered muted chuckles and looked at each other for cues. The girl in the blue sports bra nudged her screen. Commenter blowing up. Everyone's like, "Is that Keanu Reeves?" Cass smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. He replayed the clip. Keanu, scrubbing the floor beside a janitor. No words. No performance. Just dignity. It bugged him, not because he hated janitors, but because someone like that, the John Wick guy, the legend, the unshakable internet saint, had just knelt beside a nobody, in silence, without irony, without shame. Cass couldn't process it. He scratched his chin, suddenly aware of the ring light glow in his reflection. "Whatever," he muttered. "Dude's probably method acting or something." He deleted the clip. Too late. Elijah had disappeared, back into the shadows of the staff hallway, pushing the cart with silent wheels. The bucket clanked. His shoulders were stiff, like he was holding a scream in his ribs. He turned the corner and ducked into the janitor closet, the one with the busted light, and the door that didn't close right. Only when he was alone did he let himself breathe. Then he sat on a crate, head in hands. His face burned from humiliation. He didn't cry. Not exactly. But his body shook the way metal does when it's been hit too hard. He hated this job, but he needed it. His mom was recovering from surgery. Rent was overdue. He hadn't told anyone he was still in high school, working night shift to pay for food, skipping gym class to clean gyms like this. And now, millions of people might have just watched him get mocked like he was a joke, a stain. He stared at his hands. The knuckles were red, raw from bleach. He clenched them hard. Then a knock. Light, rhythmic. Elijah froze. The door creaked open slightly, and in stepped Keanu Reeves. No cameras, no crew, just him. He didn't speak at first, just looked around the tiny room, saw the cracked sink, the mildew in the corners, saw the boy on the crate. Try not to look like a wounded animal. Keanu stepped in and pulled the door closed behind him as best he could. Then he leaned back against the wall, arms crossed. Finally, he said, "I hate locker rooms, too." His voice was calm, low, honest. Elijah stared at him, eyes wide. Keanu shrugged. Too many mirrors. Not enough truth. Silence. Elijah opened his mouth, then shut it. He didn't know what to say. Keanu didn't fill the silence. He let it be, like he knew Elijah wasn't ready to talk, like he'd been here before this exact feeling, and understood how to give it space. Then, quietly, he added, "That floor looked perfect, by the way. You didn't miss a spot." Elijah blinked, then looked down. His throat tightened. "Thanks," he whispered. Keanu nodded once. "Mind if I help with the upstairs lounge?" he asked, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Elijah's eyebrows lifted. "You want to clean?" Keanu gave the faintest smile. "I'm already sweaty. Might as well do something useful." Elijah almost smiled too. Almost. And then, for the first time in weeks, he stood a little straighter. Together, they walked out of the janitor's closet. One boy with a mop, one man with a quiet legend wrapped around his shoulders like an old hoodie. And the gym had no idea what kind of story was about to unfold upstairs. The upstairs lounge of Elevate was built for envy. Glossy marble countertops, green smoothies in crystal glasses, ambient jazz playing like background wealth. It was where personal trainers flirted with clients and tech bros talked IPOs between squats. And in the corner, once again, stood Cass Monroe, shirtless, shining with filtered sweat, shooting a protein powder unboxing video under perfect ring light. "Guys, this one changed my gut health," he declared, flexing slightly. "My poops are literally optimized now." His followers flooded the live chat with emojis. Behind him, unnoticed at first, Elijah and Keanu pushing the mop cart. Elijah flinched as he entered. The lounge was where he was mocked the most, where people left half-drunk green drinks for him to clean, towels on the floor, and stares like he was bad lighting. But Keanu just nodded at him, as if to say, "Let them look." They moved to the far side of the room. Elijah ran out the mop, still unsure if this was a dream. Keanu reached for a fresh cloth and began wiping down a countertop. In silence, not rushed, not performative, just helping. At first, no one noticed. Then a woman in leggings did a double take. Her mouth opened. She nudged her friend. "Oh my God, is that—" Cass saw the shift. He turned mid-sentence. "Don't forget to click my code for 20% off," and stared across the room. His jaw tensed, because there he was, the janitor, and Keanu Reeves, mopping. Cass took a breath, then forced a grin and walked over, phone in hand. "Hey, look who's back," he said loudly. "What is this Keanu's new movie? John Wick, floor edition?" A couple people chuckled. Elijah froze. Keanu didn't look up. Cass pointed the phone at him. "Come on, man. Say hi to the fans. You're literally trending right now." Keanu stood up slowly, wiped his hands on the cloth, then looked at Cass, not with anger, not with judgment, just with a stillness that swallowed the noise. He stepped closer, calm, unshaken. Cass's voice faltered slightly. We're cool, right?" Keanu tilted his head. "Why wouldn't we be?" Cass swallowed. People were watching now. "Just a joke, bro." Keanu looked past him, at Elijah, then at the mop. Then, softly, he said, "You ever clean up after someone else's ego?" The room went still. Cass blinked. "What's that supposed to mean?" Keanu didn't answer. He simply picked up the empty smoothie cup someone had left on the bench. and dropped it in the trash. Then he smiled gently at Elijah. "You missed a spot," he said. But this time it was different. A wink, a callback, a private joke shared between the only two people in the room who weren't pretending. Elijah smirked and wiped it clean. Cass stood there, stuck between confusion and rage. The phones were filming now, but none of them were pointed at him. By the time Keanu and Elijah returned to the staff corridor, the mood in Elevate had shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but like a tide pulling out. People had stopped posing. A couple of trainers offered Elijah polite nods. Even the woman at the smoothie bar, who usually didn't look at staff, said, "Hey, thanks for cleaning the mirrors." They're always spotless. Elijah didn't answer right away. He just nodded, dazed. Something strange was happening. He was being noticed, and it felt like standing in the sun after months of fluorescent light. In the break room, Keanu handed Elijah a folded hoodie. It was navy soft, embroidered with a tiny silver watch hand over the heart. "Lost and found," Keanu said. Elijah unfolded it. The name tag read, "Elevate Staff K. Reeves." His eyes shot up. "Wait, this is yours." Keanu shrugged. "I clean sometimes, when I'm not pretending to be someone else." There was no joke in his tone, no performance, just a man who knew the cost of being unseen and chose, quietly, to see others. Elijah sat down hard on the bench. "Why are you really here?" he asked. Keanu looked at him. Then, finally, he spoke with weight. "I've played a lot of heroes on screen, but that's just costumes, editing, lines someone else wrote." He paused. "But when I see someone like you working hard, staying quiet, getting laughed at for doing the right thing." He looked away for a moment, eyes distant. "It reminds me what real strength looks like." Elijah swallowed. Hard. He didn't know what to say. But Keanu didn't wait for a reply. He patted him gently on the shoulder, then stood, down in the parking garage. A different scene unfolded. Cass was leaning against his matte black G-Wagon, sunglasses on, jaw clenched. His phone buzzed relentlessly. Another brand had pulled a deal, a Reddit thread titled Cass Versus. The Janitor was trending. The top comment had 43K upvotes. Keanu Reeves mopped the floor. And the influencer. Cass opened Instagram. New DMs poured in. "Hey man, maybe say sorry?" Even janitors have phones, bro. Yours just lost you $50,000. That kid works harder than you pose. He shut the app, hard, then looked up and saw Keanu walking toward him. Alone. Cass straightened, put on his smile. "Hey, Mr. Reeves. Big fan. Listen, earlier was just content, you know? The kid was fine. He's a janitor." Keanu stopped a few feet away, looked him in the eye. "You think that makes him small?" Cass faltered. "No, I just mean..." Keanu raised one eyebrow. Just one. Cass's words collapsed in his throat. Keanu didn't raise his voice, didn't accuse. He just said, "There's no such thing as small work. Just small people who can't see the difference." Cass went pale, then red, then nothing. Keanu nodded once, then walked past him toward a beat-up motorcycle parked next to a Maserati. He put on his helmet, revved once, and was gone. Back inside, Elijah stood by the front desk, watching the glass doors, still holding the folded hoodie. The receptionist looked over and smiled softly. "You know he's the owner, right?" Elijah blinked. "Wait, what?" She nodded. "Part owner. Never wanted his name on the wall. Said the only thing that should speak for a place is how it treats the quietest person in the room." Elijah stared through the glass, then looked down at the stitched initials, K.R. His throat closed, and for the first time in a long time, he smiled. Not because anything big had changed, but because he had. The next morning, Elijah stood at the front entrance of Elevate. Cleaner uniform crisp, hair combed back, hoodie folded neatly in his backpack. He had shown up 30 minutes early, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. And that was new. Inside, the energy felt lighter. People still posed, still flexed, still posted. But eyes met his now. Not all of them. Not most. But some. A personal trainer offered him a nod and said, "Hey, Elijah, right?" He blinked. "Yeah. I saw what happened yesterday," the trainer said. "You handled that like a pro." Elijah looked away, modest. "I was just doing my job." "That's the thing," the trainer replied. "That's more than most people do." And then he walked off, leaving Elijah stunned, because for the first time ever, his name was said like it mattered. In the staff break room, someone had written a note on the whiteboard. "To the janitor who taught us class doesn't come from a wristwatch. Thanks." Anonymous, but the handwriting was suspiciously elegant. A new mop sat against the wall. Top shelf. Aluminum. Balanced. He touched it like it was glass. It felt earned. Later that morning, Cass returned, but not with a camera. No entourage. No smile. He walked with the uneasy shuffle of someone entering enemy territory. The front desk clerk raised an eyebrow. "Can I help you?" "I just need a minute," he mumbled. He scanned the room, spotted Elijah by the far windows, wiping down a pane with smooth, practiced strokes. Cass approached, slowly, like someone walking barefoot through glass. Elijah didn't look up. Cass cleared his throat. "Hey!" Elijah turned. Their eyes met. Cass shoved his hands in his pockets. Then out, then back in. "I was a jerk," he said. "No, I was worse." Elijah said nothing. Cass kept going. "You didn't do anything wrong. And I made you the punchline. That was messed up." He took a breath. "I don't expect you to forgive me. Just wanted to say it." Elijah tilted his head slightly. "You done?" he asked. Not mean. Not mocking. Just calm. Cass nodded. Elijah looked at the window. A smudge remained in the corner. He wiped it clean in one stroke. Then looked back at Cass. "Don't apologize to me," he said. "Apologize to yourself." Cass blinked. "What?" "You're the one who looked like a joke." Then Elijah turned back to the glass. Cass stood there a moment longer, then left, not angry, not ashamed, just changed. By afternoon, the buzz had spread. News outlets ran headlines. Keanu Reeves joined Janitor in cleaning gym. Influencer left speechless. The mop heard round the world. Keanu's quiet protest goes viral. But Keanu hadn't commented. He hadn't posted. He hadn't followed up. Because he didn't need to. He'd already done what he came to do. That evening, as Elijah locked up the service corridor, a small envelope fell from his locker. No name, just a sticker of a clock. Inside, a handwritten note. Some people chase legacy through cameras. Others leave it in silence, one clean tile at a time. Thank you for showing them what dignity looks like. _ KR. Elijah folded the note, put it in his pocket, and walked out into the night. Head high, shoulders back. Still invisible to most, but not to himself. Not anymore. 6 weeks earlier, Elijah had stood in front of the employee entrance, staring at the door like it might bite him. It was his first real job, and he hated everything about it. The uniform felt stiff, the shoes too loud. The badge clipped to his chest read, Elijah, Facility Support, which was a fancy way of saying mop guy. He was 17, still in school, still supposed to believe the world was fair. But real life had come fast. His mom's second job fell through. The hospital bills piled up, and someone had to work. So here he was, scrubbing sweat from floors no one thanked him for walking on. That first day, he had made mistakes. Used the wrong cleaning solution on the sauna tiles. Missed a disposal key code and triggered a hallway alarm. Spilled a mop bucket near the VIP locker area. The fitness manager had sighed hard. Try not to drown the rich, okay? He laughed at his own joke. No one else did. Elijah flushed, nodded, and kept working. Later that evening, just after 9 p.m., Elijah stayed late to finish wiping the mirrors on the third floor. That's when a man walked in quietly. Hoodie, gym bag, calm steps. He didn't look at Elijah. Didn't say a word. Just dropped his towel in the bin, opened his locker, and sat on the bench. Still, silent. Elijah tried not to stare. But something about the guy's posture caught his attention. He moved like he was thinking, not posing, not talking, listening. And then, just as Elijah turned back the mirror, the man stood, walked past him slowly, and said, "You missed a spot." Elijah blinked, then realized the man was pointing to his own reflection, his own heart, where a faint smudge had blurred the glass. Elijah wiped it. The man nodded once, then walked off. That was it. No name, no introduction. But it was the first time someone had spoken to him with humor, not command. The first time anyone that day had made him smile. He didn't know it then, but that was Keanu Reeves. And he hadn't just noticed Elijah. He'd been watching ever since. In the weeks that followed, Keanu returned, always quiet, always alone. Sometimes reading a book in the rooftop lounge. Sometimes lifting weights at odd hours. But he noticed things. The way Elijah stayed late. How he picked up after people who never said thank you. How he smiled at the elderly man who always left his shoes under the wrong bench. And how he never complained. Keanu had seen fame, fortune, power. But it was this kid, with tired eyes and raw knuckles, who reminded him what grace under pressure looked like. So when Cass Monroe made a spectacle, when the phone was pointed like a weapon, Keanu didn't think. He acted, not to perform, but to correct the imbalance. To remind the room who the strongest man in it actually was. Back in the present, Elijah sat on a bench near the gym's back entrance. The city buzzed beyond the glass doors. He reread Keanu's note, the words still sinking into him like warm water into frozen hands. Legacy in silence, one clean tile at a time. He looked up, then stood, then walked, not to the exit, but to the front desk. "I want to apply for night supervisor," he said. The receptionist blinked. "You're still in high school." "I know," he replied, "but I've been supervising this floor for weeks. No one just noticed." A pause. She smiled. "Let me get you the form." 3 days later, Elijah walked into Elevate not as a janitor, but as night supervisor in training. His badge had changed. So had the way people looked at him. Slight nods, eye contact, even respect. It was like the floor he'd scrubbed was suddenly holding him up. But Elijah hadn't changed. He still arrived early. Still checked every mop head. Still wiped the corners no one saw. Because the work hadn't been the problem. The world's eyes had been. That evening, the owners' meeting took place in the glass boardroom on the second floor. The kind of room with chairs that cost more than cars, and walls made of soundproof pride. It was rare for Elijah to be on this floor while they met, but the hallway lights had shorted, and facilities had called him in. So he came, and as he replaced a panel near the emergency light, silent, focused, the boardroom door creaked open, and out stepped Keanu. But not the version Elijah knew. This was business Keanu. Black blazer, hair tied, eyes sharp but tired. He paused when he saw Elijah, smiled. "Didn't expect to see you up here." "Same," Elijah said, dusting off his sleeves. "You clean up well." Keanu chuckled. "You too." They stood there a moment. Then Elijah, curious now, asked, "So what's in there?" He nodded toward the boardroom. Keanu looked back. Glass. And opinions. Soundproof opinions? Loud, actually. Especially when money's nervous. Elijah raised an eyebrow. Keanu explained, "Some of the partners think I shouldn't be involved in day-to-day operations. That mopping floors is off-brand." Elijah's stomach sank a little. "What did you say?" Keanu smiled faintly. "I said the mop's not for show." He paused. "Then I reminded them who owns the mop closet." Elijah grinned. "They didn't like that, did they?" "Some spilled their kombucha," Keanu said, straight-faced. Just then, another figure stepped out of the boardroom. David March, the CFO. Tan, tense, always looking like someone had insulted his watch. He froze when he saw Elijah, then forced a smile. "Ah, facilities," he said. "Shouldn't you be on the lower levels?" Elijah opened his mouth, but Keanu beat him to it. "He's night supervisor," Keanu said, "and he's exactly where he should be." March's smile twitched. He adjusted his cuffs, then said, "Well, Let's just keep optics clean, shall we? Keanu tilted his head. Funny. I thought that's what Elijah's been doing for all of us. March went quiet, then stepped aside. Keanu and Elijah walked down the hall together, silent again, until Elijah whispered, "You didn't have to say that." Keanu glanced at him. "I didn't say it for you." Elijah looked over, confused. "I said it for the next kid they try to ignore." Later that night, Elijah stood alone in the back stairwell, watching the city through the safety glass. He pulled the note from his pocket again, read it one last time, then folded it carefully and tucked it into the mop closet, taped inside the door, hidden behind the cleaning log, a place only someone like him would ever find. And maybe one day, someone else would. Someone just starting. Someone who needed to know they weren't invisible. It was a Thursday night when the new kid showed up. Small frame, baggy uniform, fresh out of high school nerves. He shuffled into the locker room with his shoes untied, a crumpled schedule in one hand, and that look in his eyes, the look Elijah knew too well. Lost. His name tag read Mason, Facility Support Trainee. Elijah watched him from the corridor. Didn't say anything at first. Mason bumped into the corner of a laundry cart, muttered an apology to no one, and kept walking like someone who expected to be in the way. Elijah remembered that walk. The way you try to shrink without disappearing. An hour later, Mason stood by the weight room doors, mop in hand, frozen. One of the influencers, not Cass, a different one, was mid-live stream, pacing the area shirtless, talking about grit and the grind. He spotted Mason. Paused. "Yo," he called out. "Wet floors are a safety hazard, my man. Gonna sue if I slip and pop a tricep." People laughed. Not loudly. Just enough. Mason looked down at the mop like it had betrayed him. He turned to leave, but Elijah was already there. He stepped between Mason and the influencer, calm, composed. "Floor's not wet," he said. "It's dry mop. Dust pass." The influencer scoffed. "Okay, boss man. Didn't realize we got promoted to janitor general." Elijah didn't blink. "Appreciate you watching your step." Then he turned to Mason, gave him a slight nod. "Keep going." Mason hesitated, then stepped forward, past the influencer, past the doubt. Elijah watched him push the mop in long, slow lines. Clean, exact, like he meant it. Later that night, Elijah found Mason sitting in the break room, sipping a paper cup of stale cocoa. "Thanks," Mason mumbled. Elijah sat beside him. "You did fine," he said. Mason looked down at his shoes. "They laughed at me like I was a joke." Elijah leaned back, stretching his legs. "First time I mopped this place," he said. "Someone filmed it." Mason's eyes widened. "What did you do?" Elijah smiled. "Keanu Reeves handed me a second mop." Mason blinked. "No way." Elijah nodded slowly. "And he taught me something you won't hear in orientation." "What's that?" Elijah leaned in. "There are two kinds of people in a place like this. Those who wipe up their own mess and those who expect someone else to." Mason let that sit, then asked, "Which one are you?" Elijah stood up. "Guess we'll find out." He grabbed a checklist from the wall and handed Mason a pen. "You're on showers tomorrow. I'll cover mirrors." Mason smirked. "Deal." In the hallway outside, a manager watched quietly, didn't interrupt, didn't log it, but made a mental note. Leadership, and not the kind you could train. That night, Elijah passed the mop closet and stopped. He opened the door, reached behind the cleaning log, and adjusted the note Keanu had left just slightly, so the corner peeked out like a whisper. Then he closed the door and smiled. It was just past midnight when Keanu came back. No hoodie this time. No disguise. He walked through the empty second-floor hallway like someone visiting an old memory. A security guard greeted him quietly. The lights hummed overhead. Most of the gym had closed, except the janitorial wing. And Elijah was sitting near the supply cart, shoes off, rubbing his heel. Long shift, 3 back-to-back floors. He didn't hear Keanu approach. Not until he saw the envelope. White, plain, no label. Keanu placed it gently on the bench beside him. Elijah looked up, startled. You okay? Keanu asked softly. Yeah, Elijah said, blinking sweat from his eyes. Just, foot's killing me. Keanu nodded. Pain's part of growth, but you shouldn't limp forever. Then he pointed to the envelope. That's for you. Elijah hesitated, then opened it. Inside, a single sheet of letterhead paper, typed in clean serif font. To Elijah, effective immediately, Elevate Gym authorizes the creation of a new internal title, Honorary Floor Steward. This title comes with increased hourly wage, flexible school scheduling, peer training allowance, and full scholarship consideration for employees pursuing education in engineering, architecture, or design. You earned this, not because of what you clean, but how. Kar. Elijah read it twice. Then again, his hands trembled slightly. This is real, he whispered. Keanu nodded. Started drafting it the day you stood your ground. Elijah looked up. Why me? Keanu didn't answer right away. Then he said, because someday someone else will mop this floor, and they'll need a reason to believe that what they do matters. He added, now they'll have one. Later, Elijah would learn that Keanu had quietly pushed for this for weeks, that he'd sat through meetings, answered calls, convinced the board this wasn't charity, it was justice. Because every space that claims to be elevated needs to start by elevating the lowest voice in the room. That night, Elijah didn't go straight home. He walked through every hallway of the gym. One last floor check, not because it was required, but because it felt right. He picked up a lone water bottle near the stretching mats, folded a stray towel someone left in the yoga studio, then stood in the locker room where it all began, the spot where Cass once pointed at him and said, you missed a spot. Elijah knelt, touched the tile. It was clean now. It had always been. He stood slowly, smiling, and whispered, almost like a vow, they see it now. A week later, a new sign appeared in the back hallway of Elevate. Small, brass, discreet, but impossible to ignore once you saw it. In honor of quiet work done well. Floor Steward Elijah, EST 2025. No cameras filmed the unveiling. No speeches. No hashtags. Just a plaque, a mop closet, and a legacy whisper between tile and glass. The new janitor schedule filled faster than ever before. People who used to avoid the job now volunteered for rotations. Trainees asked Elijah to show them the Keanu method, even though he always said, it's just cleaning, man. But they knew better. It wasn't what he did. It was how. On a rainy Saturday, Mason found the note, the original one, tucked behind the cleaning log. He didn't say anything about it for days. Then, during closing, he handed it to Elijah, wide-eyed. You wrote this? Elijah read it again, shook his head. No, but I kept it. Mason paused. Can I? Elijah smiled. Yeah, just put it back when you're done. Upstairs in the rooftop lounge, the lights of Los Angeles glittered like pixelated hope. Keanu sat alone at a corner table, sipping tea, eyes scanning the skyline. Elijah approached, slow but steady. No mop today? Keanu asked without looking up. Not tonight. Elijah replied, setting down 2 fresh towels. But I made sure the sauna door doesn't stick anymore. Keanu chuckled. You always fix what people don't see. Someone has to. Elijah said. They sat in companionable silence, the kind that only exists between 2 people who shared a battlefield, even if the weapons were brooms and words. Then Keanu reached into his jacket, pulled out a small velvet box, set it gently on the table. Elijah blinked. What's that? Keanu slid it forward. Open it. Inside, a watch. Not flashy, not expensive, but elegant, understated. The face engraved with single line. Time is how you treat people. Elijah looked up, eyes glassy. I can't take this, he whispered. Keanu tilted his head. You already did. They sat there a while longer. 2 men, decades apart, but linked by a moment that would never be posted. No selfies. No shout-outs. No branding. Just presence. As they stood to leave, Elijah hesitated. then asked the question he'd carried since day one. Why'd you walk in that day? Keanu paused, then said, because someone had to remind the world that a janitor can be the most important person in the room. He clapped Elijah gently on the shoulder and walked into the night. 1 year later, Elijah stood at the front of a modest classroom. Not a gym, not a janitor's closet, a community center. Behind him, a whiteboard. On it, Introduction to Maintenance and Facility Management. Instructor, Elijah M. The students in the room weren't influencers or CEOs. They were kids, young men and women, some still in high school, some recently homeless, some just looking for something steady, something with dignity. Elijah smiled. Okay, he said. First rule of cleaning? Someone in the back mumbled, don't miss a spot? Elijah chuckled. Close. Then he wrote on the board in big, bold letters, no one is invisible. Silence. Then he turned. That's the real rule. After class, Mason helped him pack up. He was a teaching assistant now, had dropped his gym shift and gone back to school part-time. He still carried that note in his wallet, folded crisp. You think he'll ever come back? Mason asked, who? You know who. Elijah smiled. He already did what he came to do. Mason nodded, thoughtful. Yeah, but I still think about that day. So do I, Elijah said, every time I tie my shoes. That night, Elijah visited Elevate. Not to mop, not to supervise, just to check. The plaque was still there. So was the mop closet. And taped behind the cleaning log, now laminated, was the note. New initials were scribbled on the wall beneath it. Trainees had started adding their own. Mason, 2025, first shift. Jules, broke a mop, still hired. Kim, saw Keanu, cried. EM, still here. Elijah smiled. Then, from his bag, he pulled a folded paper, taped it gently to the inside of the door. A new note. If you're reading this, it means you showed up. Maybe you feel small, tired, unseen, but you're not invisible here. You're the reason this place shines. Mop with pride. Speak with kindness. Stand tall, even if no one claps, because someone like you changed everything. Underscore. He signed it. EM, night steward, floor mentor, former janitor. As he walked out, the city stretched before him, wide and warm. He checked his watch. Not for the time, just for the message. Time is how you treat people. And in that quiet moment, with no one filming, no one clapping, Elijah knew the spot everyone once missed. They saw it now, and no one was going to walk over it again.